Nice. Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tailgate Show on the Brawl Network. We've got the Hulkamaniac himself, B. Diddy, a.k.a. Brian Quinn, B34 on Twitter. We've got the ultimate deadhead master, the tie-dye king. You've heard of the Tiger King. He's the tie-dye king. It's Air Jer, a.k.a. the Golden Unicorn, the 69 Pony, the Captain, Air Jer 54 on Twitter, and I am Aaron, AARONTOR on Twitter. What's going on there, fellas? And that's it, just like that. He's out.
He's out.
He came in Hulkamaniac and he left John Cena.
Good talk, guys. I'm going to go watch the rest of WrestleMania now.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm so sorry to interrupt WrestleMania with no crowd. And
Palm Sunday.
Oh, that's right. Are you good? Did you get your palm?
Not yet, but the jerkin is sweet.
Rosie Palmella and her 5 sisters. You are double.
Good quarantine loving.
Let me tell you something, brother. Quarantine's not treating you well.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Gonna choke you out, brother.
Brother, we brought in a new quarterback. His name is Nick Foles, brother. He got a big schlong. It's hanging low, and he's gonna slap it right on Mitch Trubisky's face, brother. So that's the big news. He's dropping his balls right in Mitchell's face.
Oh yeah. So what did you guys think of the press conferences?
You know what I loved about the press conference?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I absolutely loved the most was hearing the reporters absolutely butcher the call. They were talking over each other and not getting their questions in. It's like, that's how we feel.
Well, they're not even. That's what's funny is that like all these TV people and radio people and all these things that are now doing basically the same shit that we do, like completely the same shit that we do, except they're not as good at this because they're not used to it. It's really pretty funny. Like all these people broadcasting from home, and some of them, have pretty good setups. But then some of them, it's just like, wow, like you really have never done a podcast where you're not sitting across from each other. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, you don't know how Skype works. Like, you don't know how Zoom works. Like, this is all really new to you. Like, we've all been doing this shit for years.
Some that have still don't know how it works.
Yeah, like, it's wild. Like, I'm sorry your engineer's not here. Like,
right.
To figure everything out for you and to cut it all together. Like,
right.
It's like Patrick Finley and Jason Leisure, like, well, it's a lot of work to do these podcasts without, it's like, geez, bro, like, relax. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like, so yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that the call and, the awkwardness of all of it. I mean, that's how I kind of, the whole thing is just like, it's very like they're surreal. Just, yeah, I mean, honestly, it might as well be because everybody's life is so surreal right now. Nothing is normal. So I suppose that's about as normal as we can get. But aside from that, I mean, I feel like
Domo arigato Ryan Pace Roboto.
Yeah.
I am reading this prepared statement.
It's like we just want to start this off by thanking the first responders and the doctors and
I thought there was hope until I heard his interview. I'm like, oh God.
We're just really fired up. We're ready to do the draft from wherever they tell us to do it from, and we're ready to attack free agency, and we've really
straight from the damn bottle.
Talk about that press conference.
My man's got a thick stubble on.
Where you going with?
Do-rag.
Just 4 roses tonight, man.
Hulkamania shirt. My man is kicking it live.
No, you're talking about pace. It just kind of just puts a wrench in the whole thing. It's like you just feel like it's back to Trubisky's the guy, and we're going to and then Nagy steps in. It's like, if it started today, he'd be taking the first team snaps. I'm like,
see, I don't see how you're reading that way at all. Like, I didn't
Because he said if it started today, Mitch would be the guy running the first team.
But then he quickly said that it's going to be 50-50. They're going to get the same amount of reps. It's a competition.
Because that's what happens when you hiccup in a press conference and let the truth out.
Nah, I don't buy that at all.
I don't know, man. I just don't trust this team to do the right thing with it.
I can see you not trusting Pace because he has certainly not earned our trust at this point, even though, that's the new, people have taken a break from being Trubisky truthers, and they're on the Pace truther bandwagon just because, they got a little hard on about everything after hearing warm, fuzzy press conference from Jimmy and
see, I haven't been on Twitter much, but I don't know how you could have the warm fuzzies about Pace the way he's drafted.
Dude, there's people that do, and
look at his free agent classes. They graded him. I was like, some of them are pretty pathetic.
No, he signed them to 1-year deals, and they were just, they just want to go back to his, inherited this terrible roster. But to me, back to the press conference, I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, get the sense that Mitch is the incumbent. I don't think he's being talked about that way. I don't think he's being treated that way. I do think he's being given some respect but it is very much an open competition, and I did not get the sense that
he's really ready for it. Didn't you hear him? He's like, yeah, he's really ready for the competition. He's gonna. It's like he's ready to hold that clipboard because that's what's coming down.
Nick Foles called him from his girlfriend's phone, bro. Mitch picked up the phone and was like, "Hey, Hillary." Oh no, this is Nick. This is Nick Foles. What? Yeah, let me tell you a little story, Mitchie. I'm in charge of this shit now.
Back to Pace in the draft, and even when the guys do pan out, he doesn't retain them. And if you're trying to build a team through the draft, Eddie, yes, but
no, he's been bad. Pace has been bad. He has traded up time and time again. It hasn't worked out. He should have. I mean, if you just even go through the picks that he gave away to move up to get Mitch, Miller, Floyd, Montgomery, it goes on and on and on. It's just wasted capital. It's capital that we need. And now here we are flailing away, picking up.
How many second contracts from his good picks?
None.
Leno.
Eddie?
Eddie and Cody. Leno, yeah. I mean, Leno, yes. I'll give him Leno.
I'm talking about the guys he hit on.
Well, but Leno was a 7th-round pick. I think Leno goes in the plus column for him.
Yeah, I mean, I like him overall, but he had a rough year last year.
He's had a rough. I mean, watch that 2015 game the other night on NBC Sports Chicago, which was not an easy game to watch. I mean, people are like, "Oh, Cutler beat Favre on Favre night." It's like that was painful, bro. That defense was rough. I mean, they had, you get reminded what kind of team they used to have in that John Fox football, and goodness gracious, it was rough. So
that's what I mean. You give Cuddy this defense and this offensive mind and some decent weapons. It's
you let him actually throw the ball. I mean, I was having flashbacks, seeing Cutler hand off and then just kind of sullenly trudge off as Jeremy Langford gets dropped for a 3-yard loss, because
his arm. I do miss his arm talent. I know his head wasn't always there, but
no, I mean, it is what it is. Everybody, we talked about it. Everybody's got this romantic notion. I mean, people
all of a sudden though, that's how bad things have gotten with our quarterback position.
Yeah, but that's also just because there's absolutely nothing going on, and there's a lot of groupthink, a lot of hive mind going on. I mean, it's happening with all the draft picks. It's one person mentions KJ Hamler, and then it's every single person on Bears Twitter is KJ Hamler. I'm like, yes, because we have one good receiver from Penn State who's basically the only good receiver ever from Penn State.
Bobby Ingram was pretty solid.
Okay, and what, Joe Juravicius? I mean, who else?
Some guys are throwing out quarterbacks.
That's a good question.
There's that kid from Oregon. I'm like, okay, we're just trying to get clicks now. Like we're just trying to get attention. What are we
Yeah,
doing?
I mean, basically, that's what people are doing. They're just bored and they're just, talking shit. But then it becomes like this hive mind, and it's always funny to me how the big accounts end up picking it up too. Like it's like all of a sudden NBC Sports Chicago is talking about Hamler, and it's like you weren't talking about them 3 days ago, but you see everybody else talking about it, and
Oh yeah, social media moves the needle. Like
yeah.
there's no doubt.
I mean, I don't know how much it moves the needle for anybody else. It's just so back to the press conference. I was happy to hear that it's an open competition. I believe it is an open competition, not necessarily because of what Pace said, but because of what Nagy said. And Nagy, to me, is running the show at this
He's
point.
just got it, doesn't he? Just listening to him, he took that press conference over, in my opinion.
As he does.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he's just like, I've got this. And
Pace
he runs it.
Pace is not a dynamic speaker. Like he's very robotic. He's
He's a frat boy, man.
I don't even know if I'd call him a frat boy. Like he's like the. I mean, if he's the frat boy, he's like the frat boy that they kept because he could pass the tests and he would write their papers for him. He's not he's just like a weird nerdy gym rat. Like he's not. I don't know. Like there's nothing. There's no part of Pace that I would want to have a beer with. You know what I mean? Like I would not want to.
Boy toy.
I would not want to. Yeah, more like George, bro. I wouldn't.
Ryan Pace's hair. You wouldn't want to have a beer with Ryan Pace's hair.
Bro, yeah. I mean, his hair is probably more interesting than he is. Like, it's got better stories, I'm sure. Like, I just don't like. There's nothing about him that's compelling to me. Like he just seems like, I'm not. Yeah. So, we're really fired up. We really feel good about, and it's like we pretty much knew exactly what he was gonna say. There
was no real surprises.
No, but I think Nagy came out and was very honest and said it's going to be very transparent, and he continues to, I think, give out the very strong vibes that he is not playing around with Mitch anymore. There is no more coddling of this guy. He is going to be 100% real with him, and he's talked about how DeFlippo's going to treat him, and he's talked about he's going to treat him, and there's just no way that Mitch can feel comfortable.
He brought up transparency last season, and all he did was throw receivers under the bus to defend Mitch.
Right, but he had no choice. I mean, Chase
That's
Daniels,
not transparency, though, man. It's all fluff we just got to see it happen.
The tone is very different. The tone is very different. If you can deny it if you want, but it's very different.
I felt it was a bullshit session by both of them.
Well, I like that he brought up the fact of his familiarity with Nick in the offense and with the people around him. It actually played a little bit into. I think it played more than what they say it did signing Nick. As opposed to, say, Cam or somebody else.
Yeah, with the restrictions, yeah.
Well, restrictions or not, I think they were comfortable with him from the jump.
Yeah, I really don't think that they were strongly involved in much else besides him. I do think after listening to what Foles said that it was a little more difficult to get the thing done than what they had maybe originally kind of thought, just in the sense of restructuring. I mean, even Foles called it a crazy restructuring. Those are his words, which didn't benefit him money-wise.
Unless he wins a job.
But I think, but I think he's going to win the job, and I think he feels he's going to win the job, and I think he has the inside track.
The incentives give him a solid contract.
Well, right, and the big thing about the incentives too that I think is very important, and I haven't heard a lot of people mention this, is that every dollar of incentives he gets, that turns into his new base salary. So whatever the incentives are, let's say he has a kicker for starting 10 games, and that's $2 million. Everybody's talking about the incentives, they're Pro Bowl and All Pro and Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to be that. Why would he agree to that? Like he's gonna agree to like an incentive of like start 10 games, 12 games, maybe some, whatever, take a certain amount of snaps, like those anyway,
Throw for
whatever.
3,000 yards for the first time in your career.
Sure, whatever. I mean, it be for the Bears that would be fucking amazing. So whatever, like it's not like it's not like we're in this rarefied era of quarterbacks.
The other thing in the press conference that kind of came up was the thought process behind signing Jimmy Graham, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, I think that was a little more on the side of Diddy's bullshit-o-meter for me.
A lot of fluff.
Like I just, yeah, like I mean,
the
I just
camera
don't,
on.
like
He
I just
turns it
don't.
on.
Just saying.
Like I have a hard time really believing that they think he's that great. You know what I mean? I mean, even though they kind of paid him like that, I think Pace got a little snowed there, and they probably told him that he had some better offers than he really did, and I think he convinced them of some things, and he knew that Pace liked him. He knew they needed him. I mean, when it comes down to it, he knew that the Bears needed him. So he and his agent did a great job. You know what I mean? I mean, God bless them. They did a great job. So there's a lot being said about, how now the Bears have eight something million dollars of cap, but it's like, do they really? Because I think you're going to have to expect that Foles hits those incentives, right?
Well, don't you have to save like 4 for the draft too? I could be off by $1 million or 2.
Somebody told me that based on their picks, I think it was Brad was saying that it's just over $2 million to sign their picks. So they don't have any first round picks.
So they got about six left that they can.
Right. So I don't know if those bonuses count into that or not. But the thing I was saying about the bonuses is that every bonus he hits becomes his base salary for the next year. So if he gets to 12 this year, his base salary for 2021 is 12. So, he's very motivated. Like, he came here because he knows he can beat Mitch out. Like, he could have easily sat there in Jacksonville and hung out in Florida and made money. He didn't have to come to Chicago and deal with all this and all that stuff. I mean, he very much wants to play for Nagy, and I think Nagy behind closed doors privately was like, come in here and take this damn job, please. Like, yeah, please, for the love of crap. Like, this kid's gonna get everybody fired if you don't come do what you can do. Now, again, do I think that Foles is going to come in and be like amazing? No, I don't think that. I just think what he's going to do is he's going to get some more first downs every game.
He's got to be decent. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be great.
Right. Like, I just feel like he's gonna throw the ball downfield. He's gonna connect on some deep throws. He's gonna hit some open receivers. Anthony Miller's gonna get a lot more yards. I think he will be able to utilize Jimmy Graham to a decent extent. I think he's going to choose the damn right audible so that they're running the ball. I think, if you do watch the tape of Foles, even on Jacksonville, which there's not a lot of it, when it's a 3-step drop, it's 1, 2, 3, bam, the ball's out. It's not what, and then which is what Mitch never knows. Like,
you talking about real tape, or are you talking about like cherry pick bullshit to try to advertise yourself?
No, I'm talking about real tape. I'm talking about actual, like watching the game of, he only had like 4 games. I mean, and if you just look at the stats, you would think that Indy game was good. It wasn't that good. No. I mean, he really looked the best against Kansas City, and that was like 1 series. They're like 2 series. So I don't think that, like, I don't think anybody should expect him to come in and like set the world on fire. But I think what you're going to be able to have is a guy that is, like I said, going to give the defense a break, get some first downs. And then, when you need something to happen, he's gonna make some plays. I mean, that's how I feel about it. And, I think that you have to also think about what are the receivers going to feel like. You think Anthony Miller wants Mitch to win the job? Hell no.
Gotta give a little love to Ill Will, man. Talking about stepping up and defending Akeem Olajuwon right now on Twitter. That's all. So I got a little sidetracked there. Got all excited. Saw a Hakeem highlight. All right.
Yeah.
My bad. Oof.
No, it's all right. But yeah, I mean, I thought Nagy kept it real, and I think he's very motivated for Foles to win the job. But I think I do think it's going to be fair. I liked what Foles had to say. I think he's clearly an adult. He's clearly a professional. He's clearly been in the situation. He clearly has command of everything that's going on. He's going to come in and command the podium. I mean, he's going to come in and it's going to be Big Dick Nick swinging.
Well, if there's ever been a guy that's had the high highs and the low lows, it's him. So
right.
He's prepared for it, whichever way it goes.
This is the one presser I did find convincing. I felt like after hearing it that we got the right guy for the current time, the current situation, the way things were set up. I just felt like after listening to his press conference, yeah, we got the right guy. It's just, will they make the right decision, and will it be a legit competition? Because there's no way in hell Mitch beats him out openly. There's no way. I mean, he was even bringing up stuff like it's up to the quarterback to change the plays when you see a different defensive alignment. I'm like, thank you. Like, everybody's blaming Nagy. Mitch isn't adjusting correctly. Like, this is part of the job.
Right.
For people that don't understand football, quarterbacks do call audibles when they don't see what they thought they were going to see.
Right. And I think one of the other things that Nagy said is that the competition doesn't end after week one. Like, if for some reason Mitch manages to win out and get this first start, he's going to be on the shortest leash of all time. And the fans, the fans are going to boo him the first incompletion. It's like he might not even – there were people talking about – I was listening to a couple of different podcasts, and I kind of agreed that he might get booed when he's announced if he wins the job. Like, it's bad. Like, people get on Twitter and they think there's this – this real like split, and I don't think so. I think there's a ton of anti-Mitch sentiment here in town when it comes down to it. People get on Twitter and make a big show, but when it comes to game time and you're sitting in those seats and you paid a bunch of money, like, I think people are going to let him have it.
Yeah, Twitter and podcasts only represent a very small portion of the fan base, man.
Right.
But if you play the way he played last year, you're gonna get it.
Right.
There's only one way to change it.
This is a guy that's light years ahead and from a mental standpoint, and 70% of it is mental. Oh, I'm just saying, this guy he even talked about changing the receivers' routes on checks.
Mm-hmm. And Mitch doesn't understand any of that.
Once that mic's off, the coach doesn't really know until maybe afterwards, if they talk about it, what the quarterback called. Right. If he saw something different, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I think he has the upper hand. I just don't. If this is truly an open competition, Foles is a starter week one, but I don't know if they're really there yet. Like, I want to believe it, but the way things have gone with Pace, it's like, is he really going to give full reign to Nagy?
I just don't see that last. You brought it up a couple of weeks ago about his salary. He's going to determine that he's the starter, basically.
But it's not now. It's Chase. It's Chase money if he doesn't start, right? Didn't Chase get something similar? Really?
I mean, they're basically making the same. Like, Mitch is making a little bit more right now. Technically, I think Mitch is like at 8.7, and Foles' base salary is 8. But
my point is,
I still want to see him draft a rookie too. Give him pressure on both ends. Pause. Seriously though, like if you bring in a rookie that they're trying to groom behind him, and then you have a guy competing with him, now he's in a pressure cooker. Like that's what I want to see. Bring in a Jalen Hurts. I think
he's already in a pressure cooker, man.
Bring in Gordon or Hurts.
You think he's getting a free meal anywhere in town? Well, no.
But what I'm saying is you got the guy
saying
with him, and then the up and coming kid behind him. Now you can't get much more pressure than that.
Last year, Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Okay, prior to this year, going on 2018's record, he wouldn't have had to buy a beer at all.
Right.
This year, after this past year, shit, ain't nobody gonna buy that boy a beer.
He doesn't drink beer, bro. He's a truly dude. I can tell.
The one thing I would say, which is interesting, is that, and this was an interesting point that was brought up this week on a couple of podcasts, was do you still pick up the 5th-year option because it's still basically just guaranteed for injury? So on the off chance that Mitch does play great, or on the off chance that Foles just doesn't do it and Mitch plays better, do you want to still at least have that option to have it, just to have it? I mean,
I think you do.
Remember, Floyd's 5th year was picked up. It didn't mean jack shit.
You can say whatever you want to say till it hits free agency.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, you got to make that decision in May. So I think if it truly is an open competition, it's almost smart to pick it up just in case, and you drop it if you don't need it.
Right. Realistically, Watson's 5th year is not picked up right now. Mahomes' 5th year is not picked up right now. They're not signing extensions yet. They're both going to get their 5th years picked up in May. It's the same draft class.
I've also seen things saying that they may trade him in the draft time. I don't believe it, but I have seen that thought.
Yeah. I don't think that that's realistic, because I still don't know who would take him, and I still agree with you that I think there's one guy in the building that still would like to see him work out. But my argument, and I have to, kind of say that I don't think it's in the best interest for Mitch to work out. I think the best case scenario for the Bears would be for Mitch to just go away after this season. Like, it is not, like, what we do not want, and what I do not want, is like a mediocre Mitch, or like even a 2018 level Mitch, because then
you don't want a Jared Goff situation.
Absolutely not. That is like the worst. That contract is an albatross on the Rams right now. And, he can put up a bunch of meaningless stats and get you 4,000 yards. But when it comes down to it, he's not going to win you the big game. And he's just a guy. Like, so what you do not want is for the Bears to, that would be the worst case scenario. If Foles is somehow bad and Mitch is like decent, and he's still just whatever, and they want to sign him to 4 years, 75, 80 million, $90 million. That would be that's absolute hell.
If it pans out that way, I understand what you're saying. But if he ends up snapping out of this and playing to the level where we drafted him to be, I'm not saying I don't think it either. But if it happened, that'd be actually the best case scenario for us.
A Steve Young situation.
But that's like, to me, that's so unrealistic.
It is unrealistic. I'm just saying, if that happened, that would be great. If it panned out that way. I do not see it, but I'd definitely be here for it.
To me, what I think would be more likely to happen would be that would be a total fluke. He would have one fluke year. The Bears would sign him to a big contract, and then he'd never duplicate that again, because he's still Mitch. Like, he's still that guy. And
is there any scenario where you would pay him? Is there any scenario where you would pay Mitch Trubisky?
Not me.
What about you, Brian?
Oh yeah, over 4,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns, down to 10 picks. We get to an NFC Championship game. You got it.
If he won it all for me, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
oh,
okay,
God.
okay. I didn't.
I'm just saying that's to me. That's about the only scenario, though.
If he wins it all, or
even if he puts together a consistent every game season, and
I
you feel like you finally have a franchise guy.
He can't even play 3 good games in a row, guys.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but if he plays consistently all year, and he's a problem, and he's somebody you have to game plan for, if he wakes up Sure.
It's not about him waking up. He's not that
Snapping
dude.
out of it, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, but it's not a fog that he's in. This is who he is. Like it's not like he just, he's like there's a wizard spell on him and he has to get to the mountain and like trick the troll into getting out of this fog. Like he's this guy. Like he got beat out twice at his college. Like he couldn't even keep the starting job at North Carolina. He's not the dude. Like and Foles ain't losing out to him. And if he does, he's gonna have the job real quick. And that to me is actually the worst case scenario, is that both of them suck. And that's a real possibility.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, it is.
Like we could have $16 million of suck in the form of two humans next year. And
break out
Tyler
your
Gray.
wetsuit and get you a quarterback out there in the cold weather. We've been there before.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like there's that chance too, which really would be absolutely horrible. But I just I refuse to believe that there's some light that's gonna go on for this kid, because it's just like we've just seen enough. Like we've seen enough of him to know.
He's hiding out with Carol Baskin's old man.
I'm just glad that
fucking bitch.
Foles and Mitch started off on the right foot, and they talked, and it's going to be a friendly competition. And
Yes. I mean, what the hell is Mitch going to say? Right? Like, he definitely has not earned the right to be like.
Foles just has to come and be like, "You see this ring?"
Yeah, I mean, it's like, imagine if Mitch wasn't, amenable to this. I mean, he hasn't earned the right to say shit about this.
And you got to wonder how, like, a guy like Trey Burton's another guy, will he finally stay consistent? But you got to wonder, like, now you have guys in the locker room that played with him. It's like,
absolutely, man. Like there is not gonna. And I made the joke that Akeem Hicks is gonna be shoving Mitch like he did to Glennon, middle of the year. It's like, get the fuck out of the way, kid. Like Nick Foles is here. Like, come on.
Jimmy Graham too. He's gonna be like, bro,
don't shove him too hard.
Like I've played with Breeze, I've played with Wilson, I've played
Respect
with Rodgers.
your elders.
Like, what are you trying to do here? Like,
right. I mean, listen. It's like everybody likes the kid. It's just it's time to and you know what? Like, I think he will end up having a decent backup career. I think he's got enough talent. He's not a talentless person. He's talented. He's a talented athlite. He can do some things on the field. Yeah. I mean, there's some straight bums, that are making $5 to $7 million a year playing quarterback. Or Geno Smith is in the damn league. David Fales is going to be the backup for Sam Darnold. Like, what?
It's insane.
Like, I mean, there's bums. So there's a lot of guys that are worse than Mitch out there that are getting contracts, and who knows, he could go and have a Nick Foles moment somewhere down the line for somebody else. Maybe. I think he's just got to get out of Dodge. Like, if I'm him, like, I just chill, do my best. I mean, like, really, like, seriously, if I'm Mitch, how much do you really want this job? Like, if I was him, I would just be like, I'm going to be a good soldier. I'm going to let the chips fall where they may, but I'm not going to go, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk if I don't get this job. I make $8 million a year.
Going into it thinking that.
I
think I think he's a competitor. It just is
exactly
is the mental.
He
should be pissed right now.
He's a competitor. You don't get to this level of football not being.
I just think honestly, from what I've seen from him, I think he's pretty soft when it comes to getting pushed, though. You know what I mean? Like getting challenged.
Hey, we'll see now.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it's just like, all right, you want it? Go ahead, Nick, have it. Have the big prize of being the Bears.
It just has to be like, this is what it is. TVs aren't going off this year, bud. Like, step up. Diapers off. Like,
right.
Gotta be a big boy.
But there's very much the Chase Daniel model that's out there. And I think it's pretty funny that Chase Daniel and Nick Foles are such friends. In fact, they had a 30-minute interview where all they talked about was, like, church and coffee machines. They didn't even talk about football once. It was like such a freaking tease. Just, what the fuck did I just watch? like I'm like, can you, like, you seriously did not talk about football at all? Like, you know, it's like I found out that Nick Foles' dad is like a restaurateur, and you know they're talking about that, and I Chase, you know, turned him on to some expensive espresso machine for the house or something. It's like, anyway. So, but I think, I mean, just from a business standpoint, like, separate everything else. If you're Mitch and your livelihood is playing football, you ultimately want to play football forever, right? I mean, as long as you can. You want to be like be like Chase and get more money. And like I said before, he's got Mariota as the other sort of guide and the same agent, blah blah blah. Mariota did very well for himself. He was a good soldier. He was a great teammate. Didn't say anything, you know, out of line. And Tannehill won the job, fair and square, yada yada. Now Mariota's got himself a nice contract to be in Las Vegas, and he's the same type of guy. He'll be a guy that sticks around the league for another 6, 7, who knows, years, and makes $70 million, $100 million when it's all said and done. So if I'm Mitch, aside from the competitive meathead bullshit, he's got to sit there and go, like, from a business standpoint, like, I gotta be smart here. Like, I can't, you know, come off like a dick because, you know, he's auditioning for his next team if it doesn't work out here. So that's all. I mean, I just think
he can't even think like that right now, though. He needs to just try to grind this out and worry about this team.
But you know that you have to think of that way too, though. Like, I get it that we all think of these guys as like gladiators and like.
I think that's his agent's job. I don't think he's that complex. This is a humble kid from Mentor, Ohio, drove an '87 Camry. You know what I mean? This is real grassroots shit here.
Maybe that's just his fucking act, and you know, like he's got a.
You notice we signed that tackle.
Ifedi? Yeah, well, he's gonna play
and
guard.
They used the
veteran
exemption.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I thought it was an interesting move. I always thought that we would use that on an older guy.
Well, yeah, I think you just have to.
He's still a relatively young guy.
Kind of been a bust to this point. He was a first-round pick, right? Like, this is his tryout too.
Right. Well, they did that with Artie Burns, and they did it with him. Not that same contract structure, but they, you know, it's a lot of guys who are at the end of their, you know, their first deal or right around their fifth year, you know, would be. And that's, you know, that's what you get. I will say, from what I hear, Ifedi looks. A lot of people say he's looked a lot better at guard. He mostly played tackle for the Seahawks. He did play a lot, and he's kind of their Charles Leno, but more of a high pick. He gets a lot of penalties. Russell Wilson does have a way of making his offensive linemen look bad sometimes, though, because he holds the ball so long. I will say that, but I mean, he was definitely known as like a penalty machine. So I hope he stays away from tackle.
Right.
Which is what they are saying.
Well, he came to the wrong team because he's gonna get flagged.
Yeah.
Especially 2 times a year.
Absolutely. But it'd be interesting to see. Like, I mean, what does that mean for Bars? What does it mean for Coward? I mean, both those guys are on the team.
Don't sleep on Bars now. He's got that pride from ND. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think JJ pretty much put a hammer into him, though. It's like, you can't get on there with your college coach. You ain't touching.
See, that's. I mean, I know we talked about this a little bit before, but that's what I'm very confused about. It's just like, why didn't he see the field? Was it? I mean, was there?
Well, they didn't even plan on him seeing the field when they brought him in, though. He was pretty banged up.
That's not true, because look how much he played in the preseason, and he wasn't being shelved in camp. That's what I don't understand, is that if that was the case, you wouldn't have seen him in the preseason. Like, he played in the preseason, and a lot of people thought he should have. That meant he should have gotten more of a chance. So that's what's very confusing about this, and I just feel like they were very committed to Rashad Coward getting a fair shake when Long went down, and they just were not willing to go to bars, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I have to think that on some level
I think some of his stuff that he was doing in the preseason he was winning on power against threes.
Yeah.
But if you watch him, he tips where he's going a lot. He did in the preseason anyway, just by the way he's aligned.
He's gonna work out with Quentin. He's gonna work out with Quentin before he to just get things rolling. He'll be all right. Time to spit bars.
I hope so. I mean, we need to have some depth. I mean, you've got people. I just think it's weird that the way the whole thing went down. Like the Harry Hiestand hire felt like a home run at the time, and then, for him to get fired, it's like he's one of the guys that I. He's one of the guys that I.
We putting this shit on YouTube or no?
Huh?
We putting this shit on YouTube?
I don't know. What?
I know what this is about. Fade to green.
Yeah. I mean, to me, when they gutted the offensive staff, I would have thought Hiestand was the guy who would have stayed. Like, because I don't see how you could have blamed him for what went wrong with that offensive line, because they just don't have the talent. Like, I mean, it's just the reality. You're on mute, Brian.
That was on purpose.
Okay. I just don't think they have the talent, so you can't really blame him. And so I don't think that you can expect some massive turnaround with Castillo if it's the same talent. But what I think you will see, and you have to see, is a quarterback knowing what the fuck he's doing, helping the offensive line out.
Yes.
And that's what I think you will see with Foles, is that Foles is going to get the ball out quickly. He's going to make the right calls. He's going to get them in better alignments. He's going to move the protection. He's going to be a professional quarterback. And that will help the line a lot more than anything Castillo is necessarily going to do.
Yeah, my brother wasn't a big fan of Castillo when he was in Buffalo, but we'll see how it pans out.
Castillo's a journeyman. Laser's a journeyman. DeFlippo, yeah, he made a bunch of great videos. He's a fucking journeyman. Like,
well, everybody Italian.
Hey, watch yourself, fucking guy. So, but I mean, I agree with getting excited about DeFlippo, but at the same time, like, dude, DeFlippo was just the OC in Jacksonville with Foles. How'd that go?
Foles didn't mention much about that. He was like, yeah, I know him he was my quarterback coach in Philly. He didn't really touch on the Jacksonville experience too much.
Right. And that's the one thing that people kind of putting behind the curtain, don't look over here, is that,
he was an OC in Minnesota too, and that wasn't long lived.
Right. Like, DeFlippo is not, like, he went from being a hot head coach candidate to not being hot at all, to being
hired as a quarterback coach when we only had Mitch on the roster, and he took it.
Yes, because, familiarity, whatever, I don't know. But and Laser is no freaking world beater either. I mean, it's like these guys.
He's like a volunteer, like assistant student coach for Penn State or some shit.
Right. I mean, and this happens with these coordinators, especially if they get fired and they're making the money anyway, So it's like you maybe take something to springboard. It's all about relationships. So I'm not necessarily hating on people for that type of thing, but at the same time, like, these are not, like, Helfrich and Hiestand were higher profile hires at the time than these guys are.
Absolutely.
Like, people are spinning this, like, DeFlippo. It's like,
yeah, but we got Mickey Loomis as towel boy. We got an Arena League quarterback as a head coach. We got, like, rerun assistant. We're good, man. We're good.
Right. It's a lot of, it's a lot of hot garbage. I mean, it's like, it's a lot of like, fucking fluffed up LinkedIn resumes. Like, he was the guy behind the guy.
Like DeFilippo. When you look at it from Foles' standpoint, though, these are all guys. He's just gonna come right in and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
that's what I'm saying is that's why he has the leg up. He is.
Yeah, if it's
already-
open, it's Foles. But like I said, I just don't trust Pace. I don't trust Pace not to
Nobody does.
pollute the waters. Like if you
I think
you
that
let
might
Nagy have 100% say in this, it's Foles. And that's when we'll know. We'll know how much Pace is sticking his freaking staying involved with this one.
Well, I don't think we're gonna know much until we get to preseason, and if who knows what that's gonna look like. Given all the stuff going on in the world, and that's what's kind of weird. And so if let's say that we have a completely truncated camp and almost no preseason. In that scenario, then I think that then Mitch probably does end up starting the season.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
If Foles doesn't get the reps, if there are no reps, and nobody gets reps, and somehow we just have to ramrod straight into the season, it's going to be Mitch to start, and then he's going to be on a short leash.
I think they'll have the training camp. I think that it may not be if we're not over this, or if there's a mutation and a second wave of this whole virus. I think maybe they'll have the training camp with no fans. But at the same time, Lawrence Screeden's getting these interviews right now that everything's kind of distant, but she's getting more player interviews now than I've ever seen her have. And maybe the Bears will wise up to that and give us a little access to the practice, what's going on, maybe just like a video we can watch in. I can see that happening, so we may have better access to this whole thing.
I don't see the Bears doing that.
For the fan experience, you took it out of a small town, and you're finally doing it at your facility. I think you need to have a couple scheduled open video practices if you can't let fans in. You have to do that.
I don't think they have to, and I don't think they will. I think they
will.
I think they're going to keep this quarterback thing behind closed doors as much as possible.
They don't want fans reporting like they did last year.
They're so happy that this thing's back at Hallis Hall, given the way that all this is going.
That goes to you believe that there was going to be transparency, man. If there's not, then that's what I'm saying. That word is
I don't think that means.
There.
I don't think that means transparency to the media and the fans. There's going to be to me, the way I took that is there's going to be transparency to the team and to the players, Mitch and Foles. I don't think that Nagy is going to open the door and just show you everything. What would be the benefit of that? There is still some strategic benefit to keeping that close to the vest. I mean, you have to remember that.
I don't know. I still think you got to give the fans, if they're not letting people in, you got to give them those 8 open practices.
I'm just telling you, it ain't happening.
From a strategic standpoint, they are not going to announce who the starter is until the last possible moment. Why would you do that? Why would you give your opponent a strategic advantage?
It's going to be hard to do that with preseason games, though. What are you going to do? Put Foles in with the second stringers and third stringers? How are you going to get clear evaluation from that?
You're going to switch them. You're going just like any other team that ran things in the preseason. I mean, back when players played in the preseason, you had different quarterbacks. The quarterback would switch and everybody else would stay. It's doable.
Remember when Rex used to get hurt in preseason? It's going to be like one of the – I can just see that playing out that way. They pick up the fifth year on Mitch, second snap of preseason, boom. Now we're on the hook for the freaking fifth year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Believe me, there's lots of.
You got to play in the preseason, and we get 5 injuries or some bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely happen. I just think it's possible, and I don't think we're gonna know unless it's really clear to everybody, and they feel they have to tell us until they absolutely have to say. Because
I mean, it's clear to all of us. Foles is better. It's just a matter of where they're really at.
Though?
Huh?
His last couple of years.
He's not that much. The thing is, he's not that much better. That's the thing.
Right.
He's so far ahead mentally, though, and this is a system he knows.
That is where his advantage lies. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, physically, no. Mitch is actually a more talented athlete. He's arm strength. Mitch probably has more arm strength. It's just knowing where to go.
I think what Foles has is he does the thing that Mitch will not do, which is throw to the spot and trust
And
it.
run the offense.
Right. Like yes, the offense dictates that you throw to the spot.
Yep.
Not wait for the guy to be open, see him open, and then throw. It's too fucking late. Like, and that
once
was
in a while, if a guy's just open, you hit him.
Yeah, once in a while, but like, you know, it's
Crazy.
Not every freaking down. I mean, all Mitch could do, and albeit he had no tight end, was force it to A-Rob or throw it to Tariq when all else failed, and watch Tariq get tackled at the line of scrimmage. Like,
I heard
that-
people trying to shit on Taylor Gabriel too. Like, oh, Gabriel didn't do much for him. Like, did you see how many times that dude was open? And it was just like,
dude, Gabriel's career was shortened by Mitch.
right.
Like, Gabriel literally was hurt because of trying to get open and catch the ball and catching the ball and getting killed.
Yeah,
after
jumping
Mitch.
way.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like, I mean, that dude, that, you know, diving for, I mean, give me a break. Like, like a decent quarterback would have gotten so much more out of Taylor Gabriel. Like, I mean,
I wish we could interview
Sorry,
Allen
was
Robinson
funny.
and ask him real questions on, you know what I mean? Like, how do you feel like being one of the top 10 talents in the league at your position, and just like you keep running into this quarterback bullshit? Like, imagine if you had a quarterback that could hit him in the hands.
yeah. I mean, you know, look at Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
I mean,
Never been to the
that
playoffs.
dude had all the talent in the world, never got to the playoffs. I mean, you know, best quarterback he ever played with was what? I mean, I guess he technically played with Russell Wilson for a hot minute, right?
Even a
But-
talent like Calvin Johnson, who played with like a Brady. Whew.
right, or at least played on a team that was decent.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens, you know.
Yeah.
You get guys that just luck out and end up on teams and, you know, have rings. And I mean, it's funny, the thing that somebody brought up, I think it was Patrick Finley brought up, that during that 2015 Packers game, you know who was there in a Packers jersey? Jim McMahon
Mhm.
was there for Brett Favre night in a Packers jersey because he was actually Brett Favre's backup.
Yep. He's got 2
And-
rings.
Yeah, and won the Super Bowl with the Packers.
Yeah.
It was like, that is the most random thing. Like, you know, and then later on, you know, it's like he just moves back and forth, you know, between those two. It's like you got the team that basically
He gets a
ruined.
hall pass, bro. He said,
He does, but I just think it's funny. I'm not trying to shit on him for it. I just think
yeah,
it's
somebody probably
odd.
put it on him and walked him there. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, he got invited. I think he probably got invited by Favre or, you know, whatever. But I just think it's funny that his career basically gets kind of derailed because he gets hurt by the Packers. That
Right.
derails the '86 season. Then he ends up playing for the Packers, ends up winning a ring whenever the hell later. And
He's
then-
got more rings than Favre and Rodgers.
And the
Right.
thing about him is, have you guys
Right.
had the opportunity to meet Jimmy Mack? Like, I actually
No.
got lucky. I met him at the casino near my house here, and the dude is just chill, man. Like, he just doesn't give a fuck. Like, okay, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
I'll show up. I
he's-
played there. I
Yeah.
mean, he was the headband and the glasses with Mitch at the 100-year. Like, he's a pretty laid back dude. Like,
Absolutely. I'm not, like I said, I'm not.
I
I
hope he
just thought
got
it was
those back, by the way.
I thought
What's
it
that?
was a weird tidbit. No,
Yeah,
he didn't. He
yeah.
gave them to him. I mean, that was all part of the freaking smoke job that we all bought hook, line, and sinker at that.
You
you
guys
remember this
bought.
from the 80s? Remember
Yeah, I
these?
remember that
Some
guy.
of us bought more of it than
Bro,
others.
Jimmy Mack. Had him sign that. It's corny,
There
but I
you go.
still got the tags on it and shit from like '85. Anyway, yeah, when Jimmy Mack signed that, I was like, oh, clean up
Yeah, I
aisle
mean,
7.
You know, that's what people were saying. Oh, there'll be another number 9 that wins the freaking, you know.
Yeah,
maybe has a
Tyler
chance.
Bray's somewhere. Tyler Bray's pissed.
I don't think Tyler Bray's
I
pissed.
don't
Tyler
think
Bray.
he gives a fuck.
Tyler
he's
Bray's
getting
got a
broke
great
off.
life.
Number, though.
Yeah, I would trade places with Tyler Bray in a heartbeat.
Well, Tyler Bray knows Nick too. They play together, so
Yeah,
Another-
It's interesting. little fraternity going on there. It's a lot of glad handing and whatnot.
Speaking of glad handing and whatnot, how about this draft thing that's coming up? With the draft,
well,
we're going to do it.
I mean, the NFL.
We are doing our fantasy draft next week.
Fantasy draft.
Basically, a mock draft's the same freaking thing.
Yeah, right. Well, not really.
I think I know. So we need to keep ours and actually see what happens.
Right, but you're not. I mean, I wouldn't call it the same thing as a fantasy draft. We're not drafting
fantasy shit.
I'm not going to draft a quarterback at 43.
Well, but what
Jared's point is that this draft is going to be completely weird, and I mean, they're talking about it.
We talked about with virtual fans and things of that nature.
Yeah, like I'm not into wrestling, but like WrestleMania, when I was a kid, it was big. So like I watched a little bit of it tonight, and there were no fans, but they still did their thing. Like you don't necessarily need the fans. It's just cool that you're still going forward with all the situation around us. You're almost accepting of it because we still need this in our lives. We're hardcore football fans. We want to see the draft.
Well, then I think the draft.
However they do it, we'll take it in and respect the fact that this is new terrain, like for everybody. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with what Jared just said. It's too much, anyways. The amount of
you have 4 different networks covering the same fucking thing, giving you the same. It's just run stock highlight of player X now. Okay. Talk about him. He's the best ever. Okay, shut it down. Talk about
the pick is in, and then you got to watch Goodell, and
they can still do everything like they always did. It's just
and to be honest, the whole concept of the Vegas draft sounded ridiculously stupid.
The boat thing was stupid.
It was just rough.
Yeah, who was it that nailed that one?
This is come on, that's just we don't need to see this. I get it.
I think it's just for the Raiders to start, and I get the promotion, but it was good for Chicago, for the city to bring that many people in. It
that was
stimulates
cool.
the economy.
But you didn't need to have this whole all this gimmicky crap though.
But we talk about Bourbonnais and what this does,
right?
But this attention and the people that it brings in, it's good for any city that hosts it.
Absolutely, it is. But the reality is that you don't need all the 20 minutes of glad handing. You can do it all.
I think it'd be really cool if we saw the inside of these war rooms a little bit. Instead of we don't have the crowd to pan to and all this bullshit, little camera.
Well, they were talking about that on the other the Bears podcast, how the war room will change because it's only a max of 10 people. Right. So basically, they're going to have to cycle people in and out during the draft.
I mean, I know it's kind of hard to do, but actually, I don't think it would change much because all the teams know what's going on behind the scenes. If you turn into a reality type thing where we do have the views of little conversations that are going on before the picks happen, give us that inside look. I think it would be dope as hell if they actually went there. I don't think they will.
But I'm just saying logistically, I don't think you're going to get that. I think what you're going to have is you're going to have the studio, the NFL Network, ESPN, and it's going to be mostly that. And then you're going to have some sort of a stage with actually Goodell on it, and then you're going to they're going to do whatever they're going to do with EA Sports, these graphics, which sounds to me
what's the grimace over EA Sports? What's that about?
Have you seen the Madden detail on the sidelines with the helmets off? I don't know. Sometimes the graphics are off, skin tones are off. If it has to do also with licensing, so they can't use the player's likeness if they're not signed yet because it's the college rules they can't do the college games anymore if they don't get royalties. There's a lot of shit to work out. Bill Belichick's not even in Madden because he won't sign off on it. There's a lot of things that need to happen.
I think it's unnecessary. To be honest, whatever.
For video game images, just chime in on just Skype in on the player.
I haven't played Madden regularly since I was 16 years old, so I don't really know about it. But from what I see on Twitter, is people don't love the game anymore. Like they actually, most of what's on Twitter is people being like, "This is stupid." The way they, because
it's not for the sport gamer any. Like if you want to be really good at it, you have to be a gamer.
It's all like
combinations and shit. Yeah, like Mortal Kombat combos and shit. Like
right.
I played
It's just like
today,
one
actually.
button.
Like a new version, or like what
the newer versions, like you have to be more of a gamer than you used to have to be. Like back in the day, we could just hit like I used to just wreck people putting my best, like I would put like Terrell Owens at tight end, and he would just burn linebackers. I would put Randy Moss at tight end. I would just you could trade and do all your own things, but you put your best receiver at tight end back in the day because nobody could handle him, and then they stopped letting you do that. But I would burn dudes because that's your outside passes online. You could barely make them. So like I would just put my best receiver at tight end and burn all day.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
AI
really care about it. I just
speed
want to hear the picks. Like honestly, like I don't care about seeing Goodell. I don't care about seeing these guys weep and cry. I don't care about any war room shit. Like they could literally make the picks in an untelevised thing and then just do a show where they announced the picks and had video packages cut together. I would gladly sit and watch that. Like the live aspect of it to me has no interest. Like
it would interest me if they actually gave us an inside look at the war rooms and a little bit of a see what they're talking about.
But to that extent, like then it would actually be cooler and it would all leak, so it would never work. But it would honestly be cooler if they could shoot it ahead of time and then cut it and make more of a production out of it.
There's a delay anyway. That's what I mean. So I think they could get away with showing that strategy because
it's not enough of a delay. I mean,
I find out. I always
seconds.
Especially in the later rounds, though, there is a big delay because like you're on Twitter, you know about the picks like a couple minutes before they even put them on the TV.
I'd say a couple minutes, maybe 30 seconds.
They get behind though when they start just talking the talk after like day 3.
Yeah. Ultimately, like I said, what it's doing, it's going to open up a different avenue. This is going to be stuff that we've never seen before.
This is all, as much as people don't want to hear about this, and I don't want to get too like esoteric or whatever about this, but there's a lot of things that have happened over the course of the last couple weeks that are going to filter into everyday life. Things, the proliferation of e-classrooms, the way that people are working from home, and there's some good things and some bad things about that. I mean, when you look at the way we're using less fossil fuels and polluting the earth less and energy and all these different things, I mean, that's a great thing. But
it isn't because there's also the more things you're putting on the Wi-Fi and all that stuff, that also has. It depends how you look at it. So like the effects of Wi-Fi and devices all around us, and everybody's on them at once. Like,
but that's still happening. I mean,
yeah, but some people believe that's a problem in itself. So the more reliant you are on that, the more
5Gs.
Exactly. The more they have to push up their network.
You can find as much like debunking of 5Gs. You can find crazy tinfoil hat shit about 5G. Like it's.
All I know is the environment's getting a break, and it's able to. It's the Mother Earth's like, yes.
Oh, but my point is that there's a lot of things that are happening now that are going to be a part of our lives moving forward. Like this is not just like a little month, 2 month, whatever diversion into weirdness. There's a lot of things that are going to forever change. And, like
I was thinking about, like, I wanted to meet you guys for a game, hoping like the Tennessee game was in like September, October, but I don't know if I'm ready to like go to a stadium, like even then. Like I'm canceling a cruise I had booked in August because it's just like they're talking second wave now.
Yo, like so, honestly, you could not pay me to get on one of those disease boats before this shit. I mean, cruises have outbreaks every single year. Like,
yeah, but the one out of how many? Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I know,
but even planes, man. Like, I'd have to fly to Tennessee. Like, planes are just.
Right. But that's the thing is that like after this, things will be a lot safer. Like, there's going to be. Well, no, they just will be because we'll be smarter as people, and some
regulations are going to change. Yeah,
some won't, but I mean, just like from a brass tack standpoint, if handshakes went away, handshakes, literally removing handshakes from a custom in the world would save millions of people a year because of how much flu and other diseases pass from handshakes.
I recommend chest bumps, brah.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Sweaty, shirtless chest bumps. Yeah. But it's interesting to think about, like, because I was thinking about today, like,
I wonder what the long-term ramifications are going to be on the game itself,
Exactly, and everybody acts like there's going to be this moment where it's like the all clear siren goes off and we all go just back to normalcy, and it's just not going to be like that. It's going to be in fits and starts. It's going to be here and there. It's going to be 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's going to be weird, and Nagy talked about it, and I think Pace talked about it a little bit. Is they're going to have a plan for all these different scenarios. What if everything goes according to normal plan? What if everything starts at this date? What if everything starts at that date? And that's what every single team and league and everything is wrestling with right now.
And that's why the full signing made the most sense to trade.
Right. I also think it's a great excuse because I think they were set on that. They had another number of different ways that things could have broken, and maybe they would have changed their mind if it had. But I still think ultimately they were set on that, because you think about how complex that contract was. They didn't just do that like in a day or two. Although the one thing that I was thinking, which is kind of interesting, is that maybe they pitched Bridgewater that same basic contract with a little higher money attached to it, and that's why he didn't go to, because like the structure of that contract sounds pretty complicated. Like either they were working on that with Foles behind the scenes ahead of time.
That's what started the rumor he didn't want competition just because he didn't want the contract.
Yeah, or because they offered him this contract, which maybe was, let's say it was $12 million base plus the incentives, blah blah blah. But which could have led up to 20 million, yada. And
it made sense from his perspective, though.
Contract, yeah.
This is a guy who came back from injury. Nobody thought he could. This is a guy who hasn't been able to have that opportunity to be the man. He wanted that opportunity. I can't blame him at all. Where Foles is a guy that's been through it all, and he's just happy to be able to have somebody still paying him after blowing a huge contract thrown at him, in a sense. It just didn't pan out. Injury's not his fault. I get that, but
Well, but I think he said it. He said this works out best for everybody. It works out best for the Jaguars, works out best for the Bears, and it works out best for him. And I think he's extremely confident that it's going to work out. And he wants to start.
I like that feeling.
And speaking, there's been a lot of talk about fandom too, and I think I was at a place a couple of years ago where it was like a mindset of this group gang bullshit mentality, but we always used to shit on national media. But I think as a Bears fan, you really have to sometimes take a step back, take those bear colored glasses off, and look at what the national perspective is, because it really is an outside looking in perspective. Sometimes we get caught up in our Kool-Aid, and Athletic did not that I'm really big on power rankings, but it gives you a feel of what people view the organization as, and they came out and did their own little post free agency power ranking. They had us 20th. So it was a little bit grounding, you know what I mean? And I understand it. We didn't live up to expectations last year, but we're thinking Foles a starter. We got a chance to be in the Super Bowl with this defense, and but I like being there.
Defense is going to be sick.
Well, no, I really like being there in the national media's eyes, where it's they're 20th. But that's where historically this team does well.
The expectations are the worst thing that's ever happened to this organization.
It is. It truly is.
So I'm good with
sleep on it. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, that's fine. I would honestly it's easier to take if it doesn't go as well too. Especially after we're so fresh off of this huge disappointment of last season, I would personally just rather not have insanely high expectations for this team, just because I can't, right now, especially with everything going on and all this stuff, just from a emotional, mental standpoint, I can't take another season of thinking they're going to be so great and then watching that,
we didn't even talk about the Robert Quinn presser. Dude, it's funny to hear the defensive end quarterback killer. Their interview's a total different ball game, right? Like you got Foles, explaining everything, breaking it all down, sounding like really convincing. Robert Quinn comes in and goes, he's like, I didn't even know Pagano was the coach until after I signed. But that's cool because he recruited me in college. It's like I'm just here. Basically, I'm a hired hitman, man. Coin flipping, I flipped a coin, and I said, okay, Khalil Mack, Eddie Goldman, and Hakeem Hicks, I'm good. I don't even know who the coach is. I have to get the coach.
Well, those DN guys, those pure pass rusher guys, they're
not just setting the edge.
No.
Yeah, right.
But they literally are
hired hitmen.
Yeah, and they're guys that you can literally, just like we did with Khalil Mack, they signed him, and however many days later he was on the damn field for the Bears wrecking shop in Lambeau.
I like football.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah, man.
Right, but that's the thing. It's very similar to how basketball players can get signed, jump onto the new team and drop 30 for their new team in a heartbeat. A defensive player like that, they can just do that. Especially at the end, he doesn't have to know the coverages. He doesn't have to know any of that crap. Go get the quarterback.
Kill.
That's it. Only Fangio makes freaking people like Khalil Mack drop into coverage.
If this defense stays healthy,
it's gonna be nasty.
Safety is still a question mark, though. Deion Bush is not good enough.
Yeah, man, but you know what? You can get away with average back there when you got this front seven firing on all cylinders, man.
You can do that till you can't do that, though.
I think Deion Bush is better than we're giving him credit for.
There's some dudes in the draft though, like that kid.
Well, they thought so well of him that we went out and signed
The kid Chin's an athletic freak.
And we went out and signed who?
Well, we went out and signed Ha.
Right.
They thought
right. Well, I think that was just I don't know. I think that
Winfield's kid out of the draft though, we get him.
I don't know that either of those guys are going to be there at 43 or 50 though.
But a lot of people are saying they will be. You bring one of those kids too. Yeah, buddy.
Right. No, I'm good with it. And safety's the kind of position I think that when you have a veteran in place, they can come in and play right away.
We need to bring in a kid that has.
That might be the one place where Ryan Pace has actually had success in the draft.
What we need
Amos and Jackson.
Screw Amos. What we need is a Mike Brown protege. That's what we need right now. We get a dude like that. Yeah.
You got that with Eddie, don't you?
Mike Brown?
Johnny on the spot.
Mike Brown was
You want a hitter,
bro. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mike Brown he was better than Amos. He had better ball skills.
Yeah, I don't think that hitter guy is really a thing anymore.
Mike Brown could get picks too.
I'm just saying. Yes, I agree. I love Mike Brown. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I don't know if that's the mold you're really going
this
for.
Front seven.
I guess I'm not against it. I'm just saying
I would love Winfield or Chin. Either one, we're good. They'd be perfect compliments to Eddie.
Well, you're just taking your claim, huh?
My feeling is that there's going to be a lot of skill position guys left at 43 and 50, and I don't know if Ryan Pace is going to have the willpower to not take one. What if Rieger is there, and so is a safety? Are you really going to take a safety if you could get a speed, or what if Taylor, the running back, drops to 43 or 50 and you're sitting there do I take I know people like Chin, but you're talking about a safety out of Southern Illinois, I feel better about Winfield, than I do out of him, just because I don't know,
I'll take either one.
You already got, I agree, but I'm just saying I feel like Pace is really too much addicted to this best player available crap, and I think he needs to be a little more need minded. And I know people will say, "Oh, that's not smart. That's not how you do it." But it's you can't just. It doesn't work like that. You have a roster.
I think need factors into your grade though.
Sure, it does.
You don't draft just because there's a safety. If you need a safety and there's a safety there, but he's fifth round safety. You don't draft him in the
But some
second,
people would say
but-
that that's not how you build your board. That you should build your board with need completely and then I think it has to factor in. It can't not factor in. That would be stupid as well. But
in the top 10 picks, it definitely factors in. If you don't need a quarterback and you have the number 1 pick,
yeah, right.
you know what I mean? A team that's more quarterback needy may take that quarterback with the number 1 pick. There is a need. Need does factor in. I think it's just a nice cliche.
But what if what if a team like I don't know, like what's a good example of it? Like, what if somebody with a quarterback, somebody for whatever reason the Bengals decide not to take Burrow. Let's say that they shock the world and take Chase Young. Does somebody, and then Burrow starts to slide, does somebody who has a quarterback take Burrow just because he's the best player available? I don't know. Probably not. Right? I mean, because that's the thing. Like with a quarterback, you can't, you're going to have to pay this guy big money.
If he slips past the Bengals, who's the next team up? You got to draft him.
I would see Miami, or if I'm the Redskins and then the Bengals don't take him, I absolutely take him.
Yes.
Who cares how Haskins, like, I don't give a crap about Haskins. Like, the Cardinals basically showed everybody, like,
if Young is there though and Riverboat Ron, like you really got a decision.
I mean, I think they're gonna take Young.
I would take Young over Burrow.
But if somehow Cincinnati botched this,
which is highly possible.
Yeah, you've got to take that. If for nothing else, even if you don't ever plan on using him or playing him, you've got his rights. So therefore, you've got a bargaining chip.
That's where things can get crazy. Like, people can start getting wild and trading up. I mean, that's the thing too. Is like, so what if, like, let's say that Jordan Love is sitting there at it's the 31st pick, and Jordan Love's sitting there. Does Ryan Pace give both his second round picks to move up to 32 and pick him like they did with Lamar Jackson and get him in the first round so you get the 5th year,
He's
et
not
cetera,
a sure
et cetera.
thing either. He didn't have a great season. Like, I don't know.
I know, but people love Love. I mean,
like his
they
measurable.
have a hard on. Well, yeah, but just his traits and his
12-inch hands and whatever it was.
Right. I mean, just whatever you want to call it. I mean, I don't personally think that he's shown me enough to get that excited about.
I'd be happy with Hurts or Gordon if they're gonna just
does
sit
he drive
and pick a quarterback.
97 LeBaron?
Yeah. I mean, that's as long as I'm okay with them taking in the second round. I'm okay with Hurts if they took him at 50.
Or Gordon.
I would be. I don't think Gordon's a second round pick, but I'd be happy with they took Gordon. I just don't think Gordon. I don't think anybody thinks he's got a second round grade.
No, I like Hurts and Gordon over Fromm though.
Oh my God, Fromm is, dude. Like, I don't get the Fromm thing. Like, you watch him and it's just like, ugh. Like, he's not terrible, but like, he just nothing is special. Like,
nothing great, but he's very safe. So, like,
right, but there's so many games where it's like he threw for like 150 yards, and they would say, "Well, Georgia defense, Georgia running game." It's college football, man. Like, if your quarterback can play, you're slinging the rock. I mean, Alabama quarterback
Gordon was slinging the freaking rock. He was like second in the nation in yardage or some shit.
If like, honestly, like they Georgia blew it so hard by sticking with Fromm over Fields. I mean, are you kidding me? They could have had Fields. Like, and you think they would have been better off? Yes. Like, maybe they would have won some big games, actually. I mean, that's the other thing is Georgia's a freaking choke job every year. And who's the quarterback? Fromm. Like, I don't know. I don't get Fromm. Like, I really don't. Like, and I get what people like about him. He's just safe, like, makes the right call, blah, blah, blah. But
Nick Foles.
I don't even think he's Nick Foles. Like, he's
just you say it's like.
I don't think the thing about Foles is I don't think he's safe. Foles is not safe. Foles is gonna throw some frustrating ass interceptions, guys. Like, he is gonna throw the ball downfield and he's gonna like, that's what people I think are like don't understand about Foles is that you watch him, he makes some fucking like crazy throws. He did it in the playoff game, like throwing it. I mean, he will just chuck it up there.
I'm hoping we get to the level of Philly's O-line, but we're not there yet. Like, you got to remember what his most success came behind a pretty damn good offensive line, like best in the league offensive line.
Well, yeah, but I also
it's arguably one of the best in the league when they were doing their thing. Like they were maulers.
Right, but there's also times where that offensive line wasn't that great.
They're pretty damn good.
They are. I mean,
that Super Bowl season they were damn good.
Yes, he chucks the ball up there. He takes chances. He's not a guy. He is not a safe.
Oh, did you hear in his interview? The only thing that was like, he was like, that Chicago win was really bad. That throw to Golden Tate was just like, I'm like, I don't know how he caught it, but he did.
That wasn't reality though. That ball was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, I think he will. He's gonna chuck it up there enough to at least make the defense think about it a little bit.
He admitted he struggled. This was one of the hardest games of his career, that playoff game against us.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing against a damn good defense, and I do think that obviously if Eddie Jackson and Trey Burton play in that game, we win that game. I mean, that's not, it really was not about Parkey, even though it came down to Parkey. Like, I just think they need to be able to score some more points.
Score a touchdown, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, be nice, right? Touchdowns win games. It's kind of a thing. I don't know. I will say that I don't think anybody has any clue what Pace is going to do.
No.
People all this week are, there's articles, about this and that, Michael Lombardi saying, that, he's got this and that. Nobody knows. Hallis Hall has been a vault since Pace has been there.
I give it that. You're damn right about that.
Nobody leaks anything. And in these times,
Halitech Hall saying?
Halitech Hall doesn't leak anything either.
You have to listen in then. Damn. Trying to get a little inside scoop.
Yeah, we got no scoops. But that's what I'm saying. It's like nobody knows. Nobody knows. I mean, I did like the Bears Brawl did their mock, which I thought was good, and Brez had a good thought that they could end up trading with the Patriots, who we often trade with, because the Patriots have no second round picks. They do have a lot of picks, but they have there's no Mitch in there, but they trade down and end up getting I think a third and a fourth or something like that. But it ended up getting them a lot more draft capital, which I thought was interesting, because I do think that the Patriots would probably be interested in getting into the second round, because they have no second round picks. So
wait till they see our mocks. They haven't even seen shit.
Although it hasn't really, I mean, trading with the Patriots to move up hasn't worked. Yeah, wait till they see our mocks.
Fuck it, bro. You want to mock? We're all about mocking.
Mock out with your cock out, motherfucker.
Mock these nuts.
Jesus.
Anyway, you guys can check that out. We've been the Brawl Network's been doing each.
Of course, sorry, I've been drinking.
Each of the Brawl teams have been doing their picks.
Have they now?
Yes, they have. With our boy Bridge. Yeah, so that's been happening. Check it out. I thought it was kind of, they kind of went chalk until, I don't know what team it was. They ended up taking the guy out of Florida, which kind of surprised me. But I don't know. It just, the Windy City Gridiron's been doing a mock draft with basically all polls. People are just picking who they think they should get, and the Bears are ending up with all offensive linemen and that. So, point is that
let them all mock, but they will not mock on the level we mock, because we will mock like nobody mocks.
Yeah. To Kill
It's
a
gonna be
Mockingbird?
so ill. You're gonna need some.
We will be the
mocks.
mock
That's
that
it.
ends all mocks. Stay tuned.
To mock is to human? What? Anyway, check it out. BrawlNetwork.com. There's a bunch of stuff. There's lots of breakdowns. All the different teams. You can find out what your competitor team might be interested in. A lot of. If you do check out those other things, a lot of people angling for the same players. You know, everybody wants Brandon Ayuk and Hamler and even Laviska Shenault and some of these guys at wide receiver are getting a lot of talk. Same thing with the safeties. Chin and Winfield. A lot of teams are jocking these same players.
Yeah, but it's going to be tough, too, to factor that in because Pace has invested. I mean, he traded up for Miller. We got Wims. I don't know. I don't know how much. I think that letting Taylor Gabriel go was a sign that they're ready for guys like Anthony Miller to step up. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. We still got Ridley.
You think Gabriel gets let go if it's not for the concussions?
I don't know. I don't know behind the scenes what was going on, but I think it was definitely a cap relief for them. But I think that it was really hard to evaluate our guys with who we had playing QB. We can't have that Mitch again. We need it, and that's where it's gonna. We're really gonna get an honest evaluation of our talent with either Foles in there or Mitch good enough to beat Foles out.
Well, that's why it comes down to a point where this is why I think Pace is not going to hold on to Mitch too tightly because when you
He's got so much else riding on his other guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
It and he screws up everything. Like having a bad quarterback screws up everything. So it's like you draft a good running back and nobody knows because your quarterback is screwing up everything. You draft wide receivers and nobody can find out because he can't get him the ball. So it's like at some point Pace has to, realize.
Even guys like Cohen that they're high on that haven't really been able to reach their full potential because the guy does not even throw a freaking screen pass.
Well, that's going to be interesting. I mean, this is Cohen's contract year, right?
Yeah.
I mean.
And we had the perfect replacement for him in Pittsburgh. Just scooped him up.
Yep. There you go.
It works.
But to me, honestly, though, like they can find another guy like that in the 6th round. Like, I'm not really worried about that. They can.
Oh, this receiver that I have to really get into it, but like this receiver group's deep.
Well, and running backs. I mean, you can find another speedy type of guy. Like, I don't really like the return game is such a non-thing anymore that I think Tariq Cohen's value is very low. I'd be very surprised if he's back next season.
That's another guy that just popped in my mind though, Patterson with Foles.
Well, maybe we'll see. I mean, I would hope that. I mean, that I think was that to me is on Nagy. Like you can't blame Mitch for them not getting Patterson more involved in the offense in some other way besides a running back.
He was on the field. It's just Mitch is only going to get his first read. He's only as good as his first read.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of snaps though. I mean, Patterson really didn't get a lot of offensive snaps. Like not as many as I thought he would get. Like after 2000,
Mitch wasn't spreading the ball like he should have either, though.
Yeah, I just feel like Nagy at some point was just like, "Fuck it, I can't." Like
spreading the balls. Drink.
Like I just think that at some point Nagy just gave up. Like after he tried so hard to get him going, it was just like, you know what, fuck it. Like I can't do this anymore. We're gonna have to try to figure out a different way to do things. And by that point, it was like
already gone to hell.
Yeah, or then what you'd get is you'd get one game where it's like, oh, the light went off, this magical light, and then they try it again, and nope, no more light. It's like, yeah, because they played against the fucking Lions, like, who insist on playing man coverage, right. like any team with a decent defense, like Mitch just blows. So it's like. They can't count on that anymore, and by that point it was just.
But we love the fuck out of this team. End of the day, we love this team, bro. This is why. Yes, I am being negative on Mitch. We have for us old
Don't
school
get back
fans.
on the train once he
No,
turns it
for
around.
us old school fans, we've been through quarterback fucking hell, and we've been waiting for a franchise quarterback our whole lives, and Mitch hasn't been that. So it's okay if you're negative on it. It's okay if you haven't been around for all that and you're new to the game and you love Mitch and you really want to see him pan out because he's your first love. We've been through the bullshit. Like, we've been through the relationship bullshit.
We've been divorced several
So
times.
it's okay where you're at with it as a fan. We all want to see this team succeed. If Mitch becomes that guy, great. But like this bullshit about like trying to like fan police bullshit. Like, if you don't get on the Mitch train now, man, I can
Right.
punch my
It's like-
motherfucking ticket to
right.
that Mitch train. If Mitch gets hot, I will be on that
like-
Mitch train.
Yeah, we're old enough to remember pre-Cutler, and
Yeah,
so
we got,
we're
like-
gonna go
Us old school
Hoyer.
fans, like, yes, we will be on
Yeah.
that train in first class. Like, come on now, man. Trying to fan police. Fuck out of here with that. Seriously.
we're gonna
He's
go. We're
singing
gonna
it.
We
go.
all want to see this team succeed.
Like, we want to talk about Hoyer. We want to talk about Barkley. We want to talk about Clausen. We want to talk about McCown. We want to talk about
I got a
Jason
Mitch jersey.
Campbell.
I got a Mitch autograph.
You want
Oh,
to
it
talk about
hurts.
Caleb Haney. You want to talk about
Yeah.
Todd Collins. You want to talk about Kyle Orton. You want to talk about Rex Grossman. You want to talk about Brian Greasy. Like,
Keep dropping names.
don't come at me, you punk ass Twitter 17-year-olds about the Mitch train. Like, bro, there is no Mitch train. There's the Bears train. Like,
Oh, we're on the Bears train.
like, that's the only train. And
Exactly.
if they tell us that they're gonna start an offense with 11 tight ends and Trey Burton's a quarterback, well,
And
that's
they win.
for it. Like,
Yeah, you want to be on that little engine that could bullshit?
right.
That's cool. We're past
Yeah.
that. We're on the Bears train, baby. Like,
some
we don't
Twitter,
care.
that's some
Yeah.
Twitter gotcha garbage. Like, you
Yeah.
know, they want to
But-
go back and pull up tweets about this, that, and the other. Like, go for it. You know what? Like, I'm gonna still.
Somebody
I'm
came
a-
at me about a tweet like 3 years ago to Matt Miller. That's why I wanted to have him on, because when he came out with that tweet that after this move with Mitch, Pace just sealed his fate. And that was from some high-end executives, and we were all
Well,
like,
and
oh,
that's the
fuck you.
thing. And I gave him plenty of shit about that too. But he wasn't saying that himself. He was saying he heard.
No,
he
it
was
seemed
saying
like a
he
legit
heard somebody say
analysis.
that.
But
Right,
now
well-
looking back now, we're like, oh, okay,
Right.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
He
you
never took Deshaun Watson out to eat.
I don't want to talk about that now. It's going to get dark. I'm in quarantine, and you're bringing up Watson.
Drink.
poor Watson, man. Did you see that Bill O'Brien tried to spin that Hopkins won a new contract now? That came out this past week
Yeah.
with some interview. Like,
Good luck with that.
come on.
Come
It's
on.
just like, I'm getting killed here,
David-
and you took my one weapon away.
David Johnson? Like, what? Now they got, like, wow. Like, what?
Yeah.
Watson's like, you've taken like 5 years.
JJ
off my
Watt's got to
career,
be like,
man.
oh, great. I break my legs for this team. I fucking damn near die
JJ's
on the
wife's from
field.
Chicago, man.
What does that mean?
Pull that
Make the
off.
call.
She's not going to be in Chicago when that whole league. I mean, you think that league that she plays for is going to last? Please.
Yeah, JJ can fund it.
No.
No.
Wrong. Like, I mean, that's the other thing, is that shit like that's going to go away. You know what I mean? All this little upstart, like this, that, and the other stuff, you know, I mean, it's going to go away. Like, they'll figure out a way. If they had to, they'd figure out a way to do football with no fans. You know, football can live, but like these other things that need the gate receipts and, you know, all this stuff, like they
Yeah,
can't.
baseball's hurting. There's people restructuring their deals on their pays now and shit.
Yeah.
Same with soccer.
I mean, they're you know, they're already talking about like minor league players. I mean, the minor league players are screwed in baseball, basically. I mean, and if anybody else was back in the XFL besides Vince McMahon, I mean, that thing would be over.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's the only guy, you know, on that level that can absorb this, you know, kind of
I'm
whatever.
gonna step on my soapbox for a minute. Just hopefully this wakes up people and they realize that part of the defense of this country has to be medical, and hopefully they get that shit straight so that we're not in this situation again. Like, you got to
Don't get me
invest in
started,
medical
bro.
defense. We're fighting more than
Yep.
just
Yep.
other countries and their political views. Like, we're fighting
Right.
viruses. That
Fighting
needs to
for
be
our
serious.
fucking lives, man.
That's what I'm
You're
saying.
fighting
Like,
for your lives.
we need a medical defense team put in place and invest into that. This is serious. We don't want to be in this situation again.
Well, and that's the thing is that, like, and this is not partisan. It's not about who's in office.
I'm centered politically, man.
Who's in office now. But people were talking about this in 2005. Presidents, were talking about this.
Bill Gates was talking about it in 15.
Yeah.
Like,
George Bush. George Bush was talking about it in 2005.
Yep.
This is not a surprise. This
I'm not getting into like not the candidates and all that shit.
Right.
Just as a country, it needs to be taken seriously.
Right. We need leadership that cares about science, and so does football. So does baseball. So does everything. I mean, you want to go to a movie theater again. You want to go to a you want to go to a play again. You want to send your kids to summer camp again. You want your kids to go to school. You want to, colleges, like, you got 700 person freshman seminar classes, like, at Harvard, not like at, like Joe Schmo Community College, like, $50,000 a year colleges have, 700 person classes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like little stadiums, basically, these classes are.
It's definitely simpler in its thought process, but I'm a diehard Bears fan. I want to meet you guys up for a game, but like September, October, I'm not going to be ready. I'm not.
I think you're with the majority.
Right.
Yeah.
I really think you are. It'd be very tough.
And I'll tell you what, if at the end of April, the way things are going, if they said, "Oh, school's open," I got real long pause about sending my kid to school.
Yeah.
Like,
my wife's a teacher too, so it's like, what do I?
Right. So I'm saying, the teachers unions will never. The government could say it, but the teachers unions will never let it happen.
It's crazy though. Like, honestly, her being a teacher, like, I wish she could have some downtime. Like, right now, what they're doing on these programs, man. Like, she was working today all day on it because of what's happening. Like, the networks are so backed up that, like, for her to download a video for her classroom's taking like 5 hours for like a 30-minute video. Yeah, it's insane. Crazy. Well, she's working more now at home than she was in school because she's trying to keep the parents all happy, and like it kind of sucks too because the district she's in, like, some of the parents are like don't even have cars and shit. So like the schools are offering the technology, but some of these people don't have internet and they won't even call to get it. Like, they're giving away free internet
here locally. They're only doing it 3 days a week.
Oh, they're doing
just because of that.
Oh, I mean, you can see my kid, they're doing it, and like half the kids in his class are not checked in. They've been doing it for like a week.
So like your kid's doing it, but the kid's not checked in. They're just going to pass them through.
I don't know.
It's going to be interesting.
Like, I don't know. So it's weird. I'm just like, we keep doing what we're doing. I'm grateful that the NFL, is continuing to do what it's going to do. As far as I'm concerned, like, a lot of people say, well, they shouldn't. Everybody needs to figure out how to move forward. Like, we have to be smart. We can't take stupid risks, but every business has to figure out how to move forward. I don't know. I run restaurants. I don't know how any of this is going to become normal enough I'm going to have to go into the grocery business. I mean, to be quite honest with you, because I don't know what restaurants are going to look like after this. I just don't. Like, and...
Well, I can tell you that nursing is going to look a lot different than it's ever looked. And it should, because the travesties that are happening in the nursing business right now about PPEs, about things like this, are uncalled for.
I think you guys are going to be overly stocked after this.
Good.
I think yeah.
We fucking should be. Yes.
That is part of the problem we got as a world. The world got caught with their pants down, but we definitely need to be overstocked.
The thing is our pants were down because we let them down. Anyway.
Right.
Anyway. Shout out Christina Robles. She's working in the hospital area. She's a good friend with Zeke, And, she's having to deal with this every day and has to gown up and has to.
You are
honestly like thank you, Jer, for what you do, and thank everybody that might be listening that is a first responder and is out there on the front lines, dealing with this. I mean, I could, honestly, I was halfway to a panic attack in Target today with a mask and gloves on, sweating and trying to find shit, and worried and looking this way, looking that way, worried about, are they cleaning?
What about the people working in the stores?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I'm having a freaking hard time shopping. It's not important. I can walk out of that store and everything's fine. I mean, I can't even imagine being in a hospital and being life or death and worrying about, are you going to go home to your kids? Are you going to bring it home?
At these stores,
insane. My mom's a cashier at Whole Foods.
How stressful is that right now?
It's very stressful. And I asked her today. I said, "Are you giving you masks?" She said, "No, we have to provide our own masks." I said, "Really, Jeff Bezos? Really? This guy's making freaking money hand over fist right now from Amazon and Whole Foods. He's not hurting. He's
making
$100 million.
But you can't invest in
that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem with the structure of how this all went down.
Right.
There's not enough to go around, and guess where
Amazon's
we get most of our shit from? Where's all our shit come from?
Yeah, China. I know. I mean,
and they weren't even allowing the KN95s.
Robert Kraft freaking flew some in. It's not like it can't happen.
But he did an end around. I mean, he basically just threw his rich guy balls out on the table and was like, "I'm flying the fucking Patriots plane to China. We're picking up this shit and we're coming back, and you ain't saying nothing about it."
Right.
Like, that's basically what he did.
And we're doing. I'll be honest with you. In some places, that's what we're doing.
Right.
Well, they need to. Like, if we're gonna bail out the airlines, fly over there and grab them, man.
It's time. The red tape and the bullshit.
Right. Well, and that's a big thing.
All right, it's getting political.
I know, but it's not getting too political. But that's the thing that just went on. Like, I mean, there's a whole big thing with 3M.
Yep.
Like, that basically, I don't know. So it's just wild. So the point of it is that keep your head on a swivel. Let's all try to do the right things, and it's gonna get even harder to do that when it gets warm. But just you've got to try to think about the future a little bit.
Enjoy your time with your families. Like, it sucks that we're in this predicament, but
I think
at the same
might
time,
be the best things that have happened through this is the times.
Yeah, quality time
with family and friends.
Shit gets busy, man. We were running like.
How important is that restaurant? How important? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but it allows you to get perspective.
Well,
we're gonna get to know our kids better than we ever have, man. Things are definitely slowed down and
it makes you realize like how much time you were actually spending doing nothing.
Yeah,
like running, just
shopping, driving, like whatever.
My kids have so many commitments. Like now it's just nice and chilled out.
Right. So yeah, I mean there are silver linings to things.
I'm trying to twist it.
Figure out ways to
make it positive,
to help where you can, and to make the best of it, and to just push forward and not. I just think that what we can't necessarily do is sit here and act like we're in COVID-19 jail, and at some point someone's just going to let us out, because it's not like you have to really take stock and say, okay, what if this was it? Like my job, I'm already thinking about the fact that my job may never come back as I knew it. Yeah. So am I just going to be like, oh, well, like, no, I'm going to figure out something else to fucking do.
Right, but I'm just saying, in the moment, we just got to try to spin it positively and enjoy what we have and appreciate it. Like,
right. And if that's the NFL draft, I mean, today they were playing the Bears Cardinals from 2006 on the radio. Like,
really?
That was nice. Like, after being stressed out in Target, I was driving, I was listening to Joniak and listening to the Cardinals go right down the field on the first drive, and
yep.
I was like, wow, I forgot.
It's weird, isn't it?
Before that great comeback. like they got moved on.
Yep.
So it's just strange. It's like what is happening right now? Like I'm listening to, and we're watching 2015 games, and a lot of people have been watching old Bulls games that might not have necessarily watched it. We're gonna get to see this Jordan documentary, and it's gonna take more of a center stage than it might have otherwise. And
it was one of the most interesting games. I was very young. I was pretty young during the Fog Bowl, but I was listening to it on the radio. That was a wild game to hear broadcast, man. Like I wish I could. Actually, I'm gonna look that up because that was so wild. The announcers were like,
sure
they could barely see shit. Yeah.
It was God. He's the Packers guy now. What's his name?
I forget.
He was ours,
Yeah.
and then he was making the calls on that game.
So anyway, so we'll wrap it up. But thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting, and we do appreciate everybody out there, and we hope.
I appreciate you guys too, man. This is
yeah,
great.
you guys are keeping me sane.
You know what I mean? It's a great escape.
Hopefully, you guys, that are listening out there have a little escape. Hopefully, we didn't get too downery for you, but we're real people. We know everybody's going through it, just like we are, and I'm all for escapism, but at the same time, it's like you don't want to act like nothing's happening either. Right. So we appreciate it.
It dominates our daily conversation in life.
It's a tailgate, man. We're just tailgating, kicking it, talking.
Real talk. This is real talk. This is what we would talk about if we were sitting right next to each other.
Right, I hope everybody out there is healthy. I hope your loved ones are healthy. I hope we get through this, man. It's a wild time, so we had to talk about it. It's everywhere.
Everybody, do your best to pay attention and listen to the cautious people.
Yeah, man.
The next time you think about, okay, I'll just go ahead and spit this. And the next time you think about doing something crazy, the next time you think about going out and just wilding out and you want to go to like the bar or whatever in the future, think about that nurse. Think about that nurse that has to glove up and look at you and take care of you. Think about the doctor. Think about the patient care tech that has to take care of a family member. You have to think. You cannot think about yourself in this. This is not a selfish situation. You have to think selflessly and live selflessly because other lives depend on it.
Oh, and honestly, that's
I agree, Jerry.
We should live that way anyway.
You gotta be careful in bars anywhere. The German-infested shitholes most of the time.
Nobody wants, but that goes for if none of this was ever happening, it's like you get in a car and drive drunk, and somebody's gotta save your ass,
Yeah.
or save somebody else's ass if you crash into them or whatever. I think
it's gonna change. It's gonna change bars too.
Life has changed. Life has changed now.
Far too often do we take for granted these people, in the world. Everybody wants to be on this, F the cops thing until they have to call them. You know what I mean? Like everybody likes to spit that, cops are messing with me, this, that, and the other. It's like cops don't mess with most people. You know what I mean? Cops mess with plenty of people, but at the end of the day, cops are people too. And when you call them, they're going to show up no matter what the hell is going down. Same thing with ambulance, firemen, nurses, ER people, whatever, off-duty doctors, whatever the case may be. These are the people that rush in when everybody else is rushing out. So just, like Jer said, think about somebody else besides your fucking self.
And if you got extra supplies laying around, donate them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I spent all Friday night, me and my girlfriend. Was it Friday night? No, it was Saturday night. Last night. She had the sewing machine going, making masks.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got off work, and we're doing what we can, Right. Everybody, if you've got the talent and you've got the time and you've got the effort, you can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you.
Can you get me some Bears covers for our masks?
People have been asking for those. A bunch of Bears Twitter people.
I can make that happen.
Have been,
Well, you can protect the mask. You can actually protect the mask that you need, and
That's
wash
the
and
whole
cover.
thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Right.
what I do with my job right now.
Yep.
I have to wear it for this week it'll be 3/12s for sure.
You can wash it right away.
12
and use
hours
your
with
mask.
a mask that's already 2 weeks in because supplies are low.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's
I mean,
life.
luckily I have like 2 that I can use for the grocery.
And I work
So
for a
it's like-
great company. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. My company is actually one of the better ones. And it's a struggle to get PPE.
Well, it's not their fault. I mean,
No, it's the private
you had
sector
people
fighting
You know, they
amongst-
just they found people hoarding stuff. I mean, just stop the damn hoarding too, people. All right,
Well,
that's
I
it.
mean, I'm just saying, working for an electric utility, we have PPE, everything we need, and it's rotated. You send it out to get tested and get new stuff in right away because they have to
You
test
live
all
in a
up.
different world than nursing.
But it has to be the same. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Right,
getting at.
that should be prioritized just as highly. Like
I'm essential.
Yeah. Anyway,
You know what I'm saying?
that's
All
it.
right.
We're good.
Yeah, because it's going down a different
We've
rabbit hole.
said it. No,
We
it's,
love you
it's
guys.
not that. It's just people are still
It
listening.
needs
at
to
this
be. It needs to be talked about.
It does. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Just another episode of the Tailgate Show.
Sunday.
We're awful handsy over there.
The Bears.
The one love. Just one love. That's all I got.
Mm.